13.17 has sparked the rise of many different champions. A plethora of new builds have emerged, leading to some considerable shifts in the solo queue meta. We'll be breaking all of those down and providing you guys with a complete update on the solo queue tier list, thanks to the help of our challenger players and analyzing the most recent data. But before we get into it, be sure to check out SkillCapped if you want to truly get better at League of Legends. We're the only service that offers a money-back guarantee if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. We do this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't pay. Learn more at the end of this video or click the link in the description below. So it turns out the Aatrox adjustments this patch have been extremely positive. This, in combination with the Gore Drinker buffs, have led to Aatrox's overall win rate spiking a few percentage points. Best part of it all is that Duskblade and Gore Drinker now seem to be on very equal power levels, leading to much more diversity in how you build Aatrox into a bunch of squishies that you can just one-shot. Duskblade is going to remain great, but now if you're playing to more bruisers or tanks that also have strong CC threat, Gore Drinker will be more reliable. Overall, Aatrox is back in a big way for 13.17, and he will be moved up the tier list, going from A into S. So it was originally looking like Tryndamere was only getting 25 extra attack range, but Riot decided to throw in a curveball at the last minute. Attack range is up by 50, but in exchange for the champion losing 4 AD. So far, it's looking like this alteration is a net win for Tryndamere. 50 extra range is just so massive and can make a huge difference in duels. Being able to weave in that one extra auto attack that ends up being a crit can completely change the outcome of a trade. If you're thinking of picking up Tryndamere for the first time and really want to up your trading game, our Master in Minutes course on trading will help you out a ton. We wouldn't be surprised if Riot circles back and reduces Tryndamere's range a tad for 13.18, so definitely look to abuse him while you can. We had originally bumped Trynd into S tier for the pre-patch tier list, thinking his range was only going up by 25, but now that we know the full extent of the change, he's in need of a push into OP. We noted in our pre-patch tier list that champions who can abuse the Gore with Spear combo are going to be loving this patch, and Renekton is one of them. As the data for 13.17 is rolled in, Spear is currently outperforming every other second purchase on Renekton, but it's still being slept on, only purchased in less than 10% of games. You're just getting so much more power from building Gore Drinker and Shojin due to both items being buffed, and the 2-item spike in the mid game is incredible. You can find Renekton placed in our top lane S tier for 13.17. So diving into the complete top lane tier list, there are a few adjustments for mid-patch. OP tier will now be locked down by Malphite, Garen, and Tryndamere, which means Illaoi gets bumped down into S tier. With Tryndamere coming back into meta this patch, it puts even greater priority on Malphite. Mal's ability to stack armor and reduce attack speed counters Tryndamere's kit extremely hard. Top lane Naafiri has been hit significantly harder than mid lane Naafiri for this patch, so she will be moved down the tier list. One of the changes Naafiri received that's more detrimental to her as a top laner is the fact her pack mates now take 100% bonus damage from melee attacks. There's so many more melee champs played up top than mid, so it's leading to a more negative outcome for Naafiri in that specific role. Highest on the ban list for top lane this patch include Malphite, Tryndamere, and Illaoi. To climb your way out of low elo the fastest, Malphite, Mundo, and Garen are great options. One jungler who has seen a nice spike in strength this patch due to a direct buff and also a new build is Xin Zhao. Xin did receive a buff to his passive this patch, but it's really in combination with his ability to abuse Gore with Spear of Shojin that is bringing him a lot more power. The buff to Xin passive actually synergizes quite nicely with the buff to both Gore Drinker and Spear of Shojin. Shin's passive heal now scales off of health, and both those items had their health increased. The 3-item core you'll want to run for this patch is Gore Drinker into Spear of Shojin and Black Cleaver. Since Shin really wasn't using Shojin at all prior to this patch, we were hesitant in pushing him up the tier list for pre-patch, but now that it's clear the champion works extremely well with the item and is seeing much more success, we're moving him out of B and into the jungle A tier. It feels like every second patch, Hecarim builds are on the move, and that has been the case here once again in 13.17. Spear of Shojin Rush is without question the most optimal way to play Hecarim, but the rest of the build may not be what you'd expect. With Stridebreaker buffed, Hecarim is slotting the item in second to some really great success right now. You can even go Gore Drinker and it's perfectly viable as well. Stride is going to give you that extra sticking power to really push leads, while Gore is more cookie cutter. Black Cleaver is going to be the 3rd item to round out the core, but Sterix is an alternative option as well. So in the matter of a patch, we've gone from a squishy one-shot setup to a much more durable build with extended fight power. Something worth noting as well, with more bruiser builds coming back, Conqueror has started outperforming Phase Rush. In previous patches, it was pretty much always Phase Rush that you would run, but since this new build has you sticking in fights for much longer, Conqueror is a better value now. Don't be fooled by Hecarim's overall solo queue win rate, because if you're rushing Shojin, he is extremely powerful. Many players are still going Duskblade or Eclipse though, which is keeping Hecarim's win rate down at around 49% right now. If we just went off this win rate without considering build strength, you'd think Hecarim would deserve a spot in A or B tier, but as long as you're running Shojin, he's a very very powerful S tier pick. So taking a look at the jungle tier list, we have one massive adjustment for mid-patch. It's no secret that Jarvan is an absolute monster with Gore Drinker and Spear of Shojin, so it's fitting he stands alone as the only OP tier champ. It's really the patch of Gore Drinker and Spear of Shojin. If your champion can abuse both items, it's very likely they're a good pick right now. Other than Jarvan and Xin Zhao, who we've already mentioned, Nocturne and Kayn are two others who can abuse the item combo. The Kindred nerfs have turned out a bit more impactful than we originally anticipated, so she'll be dropping down into the jungle B tier. For a high elo, you could argue for the champion to remain in A, but for the majority of ranks, they're just much better and easier to execute options now. The few junglers that are most worth a ban for this patch include Jarvan, Hecarim, and Kha'Zix. Junglers that we would recommend you spam to climb low elo the fastest are Rammus, Shyvana, and Nocturne. One of the biggest winners out of the mid lane for this patch has been Lux. Q cooldown dropping by 2 seconds at max rank has been great for her. More windows of opportunity to find picks in the mid game significantly increases Lux's solo carry power. As a result, we'll be giving Lux a push up from A into S tier for mid patch. One of the most sleeper OP mid lane champs for patch 13.17 is Kassadin. It's been circulating around the league space as of recent that Riot actually snuck in a secret buff to Kassadin without telling anyone directly in the patch notes. If you go to the league wiki for Kassadin, you can see that in patch 13.15 there was an undocumented AP ratio buff to Kassadin's ultimate. Now, it wasn't just a measly 1 or 2% increase either. Riot literally increased the ratio from 40 to 60%. If you were trying to put together why all of a sudden Cass saw a random jump in win rate as of recent, this is the answer. Due to this buff, Kassadin is back in a really good spot for solo queue and should not be slept on going forward, as we'll be moving him into the mid lane S tier. Breaking down the 13.17 mid lane tier list, we have a few moving parts. OP tier will now consist of just one champion, being Vex. Our pre-patch assessment of Vex becoming an OP mid has played out quite nicely, as she is fitting in really well on top of the mid lane meta. Naafiri has seen a slight decline in strength this patch due to her nerfs, but definitely not to the extent of her falling out of meta. Naafiri is no longer in the mid lane OP tier, but she only drops as far as S and is still one of the best solo queue mids. One mid lane champ recently buffed that our challenger mid laner Shori has been really liking as of recent is Brand. He went ahead and completed a full game commentary for you guys detailing how to abuse the pick, which can be found on our website. There's a very unique setup going around on Brand mid that makes him super sleeper, and we'll be featuring it in tomorrow's upload, so be on the lookout for that. A few of the highest value mid lane bans of the patch are Zed, Naafiri, and Fizz. Malzahar, Aurelion Sol, and Annie are the top dogs when it comes down to climbing low elo the fastest. To be straight up, this is probably one of the most bland patches we've seen for ADC in a while. Samira was the only champion directly changed, which means there's really no movement on the solo queue tier list. OP tier will continue to be locked down by Ashe and Misfortune, as it has been for the past few patches now. We spend a great deal of time looking into analytics to ensure we curate the best tier list possible, and there's been such a cool trend for Vayne over the past 5 patches. We've been huge advocates to Trinity Force Vayne for a while now, and dating back to patch 13.13, the play rate of the item has increased every single patch, while Vayne's overall win rate has also increased each and every patch. Back in 13.13, only 20% of Vayne players were running Trinity, and her win rate sat down around 49%. Jumped to 13.17, and over 66% of Vayne players built Trinity Force, while her win rate has jumped 3 percentage points since then, up to just below 52%. This really just goes to show that a simple build swap can completely alter the power of a champion, and like we mentioned when discussing Hecarim earlier, it's why looking at overall win rates is not always the best indication of a champion's true power. S tier is where you'll find Vayne on the ADC tier list for 13.17. A couple ADCs most worth a ban for this patch include Kai'Sa, Ashe, and Ezreal. Sivir, Misfortune, and Ashe are the highest priority ADCs to climb out of low elo. One support that received massive changes for 13.17 and is now on top of the meta once again is Blitzcrank. Due to so many different changes, it was difficult to be confident in giving Blitz an accurate rating for pre-patch, but we did expect the changes to be positive, and they have played out that way. More durability in exchange for less extended fight power were the gist of the changes. Blitz having more early game durability makes it more difficult for ranged supports to push him out of lane, which just leads to more opportunities where he can find picks with Q. Something very important to note about the changes is that since Blitz R passive damage now scales off of mana, it makes going for the more offensive Everfrost build even stronger. It's nothing too crazy, as Everfrost provides you with 600 mana, which equates to about 12 extra damage for Blitz R due to the change. Nevertheless, it has led to Everfrost heavily outclassing every other mythic item on Blitz, so definitely give it a go if you're picking up the champ in 13.17. If you go for a 2-item core of Everfrost into Frozen Heart, it makes that buff even more impactful. All in all, Everfrost Blitz is extremely powerful for 13.17 and will be moved up into the support OP tier. If we have a look at the complete support tier list, the OP tier is being locked down by Zyra, Rakan, and Blitzcrank. As we noted earlier on in the video, Lux mid is looking super good this patch due to the buffs, but Lux support is actually on the rise as well. If you are looking for a more damage-oriented carry from the support role and don't want to play Zyra, Lux is definitely the next best option right now. A really deadly duo that you can play this patch is Lux support with lethality Caitlyn. Forget about the Lux snare into Caitlyn root combo. Simply simply using both Kate and Lux ultimates on a squishy target will literally two-shot them if you get ahead. Probably one of the biggest changes to support this patch that may be flying a bit under the radar were the nerfs to Even Shroud. We were optimistic that the nerf wouldn't hit that bad, but across the board it's led to just under a 2% drop in win rate into champs who were super reliant on the item. We'd already moved Rel out of OP tier and into S for the pre-patch tier list, but we're also going to be moving Leona, Nautilus, Maokai, Alistar, and Amumu down from S into A due to the nerf as well. All the more reason to really prioritize Blitzcrank for this patch, as he's one of the few melee supports who is not abusing Even Shroud. A few of the best support bans for 13.17 are Nautilus, Blitzcrank, and Rakan. Heimerdinger, Zyra, and Blitz are our 3 low elo recommendations for support. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent challenger players into Elo Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. So there you have it guys, a complete look at the solo queue meta as we hit the halfway point of the patch. Thanks so much for watching, good luck on the Rift, and we'll see you back soon.